Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. I'm Nichel Anderson, your host. Today, thank you so much. And this will be episode 36, starting my season 2, 2018-2019. All right, so the title today will be How to Adapt to Change at Work. All right, let's go ahead and get started with my episode. Let me go ahead and start off by saying, in this day, I am thankful to the prime creator of all things, that I give thanks for this blessing and opportunity, that I will use it for the greater good. So welcome, my survivors of the journey, to my podcast that aims to inspire and motivate you, that you will continue to have joy, peace of mind, and for your sustained success. So, thank you so much for joining me today. Let's go ahead and get into this, okay? All right, another week, another opportunity to look forward, to find the joy that you seek. All right, so now we're going to talk about today's topic, okay? Because change is big in business, okay? Change, as they say, is very important in life, especially in the workplace, because that's how you adapt to time, because time moves forward. And at the end of the day, the business has to keep up to the change in trends. But to do that, a lot of people don't like change. They get comfortable. And so I'm going to talk about it in that perspective of it, right? I guess you can say in the perspective of management. But at the same time, talk about it with the employees of how they feel. Some don't like change because they feel we don't need change. Why change something if it's not broken? That's the saying, right? Or why change and we change and it's just a bigger mess than before. But I'm going to talk in that perspective too, on both sides. But in all, the goal is to adapt to the change at work in a peaceful way, that we can move forward and can have the business continuity that we seek. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. My important point to start this off for today's episode, and that is the primary objective for change is to bring about a new way to conduct an output that serves everyone. I mean, that's really the main takeaway, okay? And in some cases, one aspect than another, such as the brand identity to increase revenue, higher efficiency, okay, with sustaining high morale staff that doesn't leave due to the change. Can be done with precision and effectiveness within a good communication type model. Okay, if anything is to take away from today, is that if your communication model for the change is effective, okay, less people will be resistant to it and more people will be proactive, be pro for it. Okay, it's all in how you communicate and then how you set it up thereafter. You got to communicate it right. You got to break it down in a way that it is supportive and nurturing. And throughout my episodes, I always talk about nurturing, not in a personal relationship, but also in the professional one. We can't just get kind of tied to our titles. We got to understand that in humanity, we all need nourishment. And each phase of something new, there's a transition, but there's a caring to that. And that's what I'm trying to communicate today, that in the communication model, that's the nourishing, that's the nectar, that's the home front that you want to try to nourish the thought and to communicate in a way that people will see and accept it so they can adapt to the change. So my wisdom point is this: everyone like things to stay the same in some area of their lives while on the journey. And change, it's like a major element because it flipped the script in a sense, and now we're going to do this. So it never stays the same forever as what we have to take away from change. It must move forward, so therefore change is right there in the middle of that. So to some aspect, something is different and we tend to accept it if it is nourishing and pleasing to our needs. That's the wisdom point on that. So why is this so? Well, from employees' perspective, I think change is just scary. So they rebuke it because they like the way that things are and that they don't have to go through the uncertainty of learning something new. Remember, employees, I think the number one thing that employees leave is a high turnover because their environment is toxic. But number two is they don't feel that they are getting the job. For the most part, I know you get some lazy ones or what have you, but for the most part, people want to work because that feels that they accomplished something. People want to feel accomplished, and they feel accomplished, they feel successful. So from manager perspective, I can say on them, they need to reach like a more metric goal. So that's what they most of them concerned about those numbers, all right, and they get so in tune with it. You have to be concerned about it and be aware of it, but they get so in tune on it, they hurry up and do the change, and it's just completely chaotic in a sense because it's not really thought out, or failures happen and there's no emotional and nourishing support. So they define their success based on their board of investors and themselves. So the urgency to do the change to get it done either is rush, is murky in detail, what's going on. It's not executed in a precise way. And also it's not selling it. And selling it is the same as what I mentioned earlier in my important point part of the segment, is that it's not communicated right. The communication model lacks what it needs. It lacks the luster. Okay, so who are we talking about that we need to find a way that they can adapt to the change? I'm going to call them the resistors. Okay, from resisting the change. Okay, people will fight the change because they are stuck in the before and not the tomorrow. The future is the change. Some of them might have a good reason that the system not working and the process is too long, and is overall the big picture is that in the end change needs to happen in order to get where the company needs to be. So patience is a virtue with the resistors. Okay, and the selling point has to be superb. You got to do some homework. You got to do some research. Okay, and the good way to do that is it's like coming up with your opposition of what they would say and what they would do by getting some feedback from them. And hopefully the resistors are not the ones that just don't want change and they want failure, but the resistors are the ones those are the ones that you can nurture, the ones that you're going to get that hopefully you don't get, but if you do, that are resistors just for the heck of it, and they like the drama and the negativity going back. They don't really have a solid reason to be against it. Those ones you just need to watch, pretty much. I mean, you just can't do nothing with that, because we're in it to find a resolution to move forward. A business can't stay stuck. They got to move, right? So moving forward, there are also the high stake risk takers that I like to call on the management side. So they just go at it no matter what. So the change process is like everyday thing, like turning one page from a book to the next. Okay, and they're not really looking at the now or the yesterday of where we were comfortable in the comfortableness, and so they rush through the change process and they don't understand it's a process of acceptance. Change is acceptance. Acceptance is change, because now it's a new paradigm, it's a new awareness. So what can happen if the good change that you need don't occur on time because people are not adapting to it? Well, we can figure out that the rejection of it can impact the productivity. People don't want to work. They don't want to do it. They're frustrated. They're mad. They're angry. It's not in line to what it needs to be. Okay, the change need to happen because you need to achieve the goals. More importantly, the employees that are key to success of the company needs to accept and adapt to the change. Not be resistant to it. We're becoming that mode, and some of them leave. Right? So this can lead to, again, a high turnover, high frustration if the change move too fast without a solid plan. Change got to be looked like as you're building a house. They are layers, they are phases to building a home. And a home is considered a new home. It's a new beginning. It's a new focus. It's a new element on your journey. And I'm talking about business, but yes, nevertheless, it's a foundation, and the foundation is the communication model tied into the process of how you're going to get everyone on board to building this new home. So the strategy to succeed, let's go ahead and move into that. Number one, you need to take inventory of people resistance as a feedback mechanism to value the relevancy of the resistance. People resist, as I said before, is because they don't like something that they feel that where is doing okay, why we got to learn something else. But more importantly, I think it goes deeper. It's another level or another phase coming in to try to say, well, now you got to learn something new and you got to get it, because we're not going back. So they have to learn something that could be challenging or maybe not challenging. So there's a whole feel of accomplishing something, feeling that you accomplished something and now accomplish something else. To anybody that went to college or high school, once they're done, they're done. They don't want to go back. I mean, I know some people continue on and go to college and get other degrees, but once you finish, thank you, So sometimes it's from that mindset, and now from the mindset of looking beyond that to say we're in this part of things that needs to be done in business. It's a necessity. Okay, so number two, you want to conduct group tests and studies by using employees. The best supporters are the ones that just a few minutes ago they was opposing it. Okay, because they will be more influential to the ones that's still on the fence of resisting it and don't want to change. Is the ones are the ones that you hone close to find out the real reason that they're against it, and to do the research to come up with your rebuttal, but also to use them in a sense, or provide or ask for them to be a part of, to participate in some type of group testing or some type of study, or the first one to be able to use this new system or this or that, and to get more feedback. Okay, and that's also a way that you can see who are the true resistors, or who are basically the ones that's a hater. And I hate to use that word in a sense in the business term, but in the end of the day, let's just cut to the chase and just be against it. They hate the change, they hate this, they don't want that. You get those elements into the mix, right? But at least you get to know. That's one thing I like to say. Even when the bad things happen, you get to the good thing of that. Now you know. Now you know who you're dealing with. Now you know which the next play you're going to move. So these types of employees I'm talking about, the resistors that generally resist the change, I don't think it's going to work, I don't think it's going to be good, are the ones you want to hear back and get more feedback, because those are the ones that are going to praise you when they finally go through it, like, oh, it's not that bad. Oh, okay. So then they tell the next employee while they're having lunch, okay? All right, or while they're talking on the phone, while they're at the coffee stand or in the break room. And you end up building. They are your influencers. That's what you got to take away from today's class. That's how they adapt, by being influenced by someone else that they value their opinion, or they're just like on the same level. They're not just listening to management trying to sell them a dream, they feel, but they're actually listening to someone else that actually went through it, and they can use different words to communicate the business model forward. Number 3, you want to conduct small, intimate meetings about the change. So I remember when I worked for a Fortune 500 company, and to this day, they are supreme. And when they did their change, oh my gosh, it was a major change. It was basically they was merged into another company, was taking over, but they were still like in it in some facets of their business products. But nonetheless, overall, the way they did it, they deserve some type of award. But they did it in phases. They started off in small groups about the change and what was coming through, how we dealt with it. HR was definitely involved because it was an overall organization revamp, okay? And they did separate seminars. They went all out. Now, I know some companies might not have the funds to be able to do that. So as I said in one of my episodes this year, I think it's 20, in this season 2, you got to work with what you got, okay? Oh, in my episode about training, the importance of training employees, and I hone on the companies that might not have that type of large budget to do that. You got to work with what you got. Communication is simple, and it's in a way that you're taking the moment to care enough to know that people have to accept this, because in their minds, they come to work to do this, they got all this other stuff going on in their personal life. They really don't have time to say, oh, now I got to learn something else, now I got to do this. That it creates more stress and the uncertainty. Okay, number one is toxic work environment, but number 2, why people leave and feel frustrated, is the uncertainty of their job. If they could do their job, they want to feel praised, because if they don't, they have to hear the manager, the supervisor on them saying, hey, this ain't this and this. Nobody don't want that extra drama. They want to come, do their job, receive their salary, and move on. And so you want to conduct these small, intimate meetings, and that's what a company that I worked for years ago, the Fortune 500, did. They did small, intimate meetings. They did mid-size. They did large scale, and it lasted for at least, I think, a month. And they just had all these different activities come on, all this information and booklets and the steps and the phases. We were involved in each of the process. But getting to the small, intimate meetings is where you can have a conversation. That's the takeaway. And now when I'm looking at it, it was brilliant that they did that. They had these small, intimate, maybe 5 or 8 people. We did workbooks. It lasted for a couple of hours during our workday, and we went back to what we had to do. But now looking back, those small, intimate meetings got me an opportunity to talk to the senior manager, VP she was at the time, and it helped me to connect and understand the decision that was needed to make the change. Okay, you got to replay that, and I repeat it. It gave me an opportunity to connect to what was needed to change in order to adapt to a new, and I know I'm kind of saying it differently, but adapt to a new a new way of processing things or processing the job that's going to help not just from the top but all the way to the bottom. And that was the takeaway. And it connects how everybody will benefit and refrain from too much statistical talk. And it wasn't no statistical talk like this percentage and that percentage. They wasn't talking numbers and metrics. They was talking as if we were having tea at a cafe about this needs to happen. So it was straight talk. It was common phrases. It was terms that they can quickly connect with and decide to support or still resist. Most of us supported it and we moved on. All right, so your task to dusk to dawn is basically you need a blueprint for success, which, by the way, I have to give a little call out to my courses that I provide, my personal development, career development focus courses that I have on my official website, nichelanderson.com. Got to put that in there right quick. But basically it's true. You need to create your blueprint for success, and that's creating a strategy. And that's the strategy is how you will communicate the benefits both for the employees and the company as a team. Now for those that are listening and saying, well, I am communicating, replay this episode and think of some other things that I'm saying, that communicate is not just telling someone this is the change and how you saying it. Communication is deeper when you dealing on the level of change. So you have to do things in phases. You have to do more than one element that you're communicating to it. You got to communicate it in a different way. And when you do that and you look at that model and you break it down, as we do in old school, or I remember in college, they always did those diagrams and they put the main content in the center of the circle, and they start making their other additional words or different connections to the main words. So communication can flow out in different ways. You don't have to spend a lot if you don't have the budget, but you need to spend enough, or you need to spend enough time to make that communication model work and be sufficient, that it shows the benefits from different angles for employees and for management as a team. And you have to be patient with resistance. That's your task to dusk to dawn. Go back and look at that blueprint. Look at the phases, how you're going to announce it, how you're going to create your groups, get feedback from those that resisted, or maybe the ones that saying no, we're gung-ho, but they're really not. But you're going to break it up anyway and just have an idea. You got somebody that's resistant, and you got to find out how you can communicate to flip them over to support it. So you got to go back and look at your blueprint. Think of it as an outline that you're going to have outline of how you're going to go back on each phase, and the communication has to engulf all of that to identify the resistant crew, to address each of the feedback. How are you going to get that feedback? Are you going to do a survey? You're going to do the survey. You're going to make it long, you're going to make it short. To me, the shorter the feedback is enough. You don't need to make it long, okay? And you got to think of kickback type of questions of compared to where you were to what the change will bring, of what questions that could come up. So you got to do some homework too, right? So you have to understand your concern and their concern once you get that feedback back after you announced it, okay? And then you got to look at how you're going to address those and who you're going to assign that can communicate. Everybody has to be on the same team, communicating the same message to roll out this, and how it overall can affect the company in the marketplace. And that's what you need to do. You have to turn the review that you get back on deciding how you're going to implement that change if you decide to go forward as a group effort, and how you still going to be the sole authority of making the choices going forward, but how you're going to listen and looking at the different variables to make it so. All right, it's basically coming up and creating your presentation of the change. So your motivational takeaway is this: change is a process in life that offers us to communicate with new ideas and set up a measure of success that is patient due to the many emotional connections to the before and to the tomorrow. It can be done with the right strategy forward. Thank you. Thank you again for joining me for my podcast episode from my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey to Success, just to give you some information to not only stay in contact, but with the other things that I offer. I provide career consultation, offering the first 30 minutes are free. Thereafter, there is a fee access afterwards per hour and can be discussed on a case-by-case basis, depending on your need. So if it is an emergency and you need some consultation regarding your career or choices that you're about to make moving forward, in a sense, in your personal type objectives, then you can definitely contact me. The primary way to contact me is by email, which is info@nichelanderson.com. Now, I do have a toll-free number on my website. Now, that is actually only for webinars, when I'm doing like a free webinar and you're calling in. Once that number is through that medium, and it's only really for that, so it's not really connected to me directly. Now, I am working on that, but for right now it's not really, and when that changes, you would definitely get a notice of that to go forward. So just to recap, my primary way is info@nichelanderson.com. All right, so the other thing I want to share with you is that I also provide business courses and self-improvement courses. So that overall objective is to help you to create strategies that work for you, to get you motivated, to identify the ways to get your or keep your joy and your mental peace. So I do provide that on the basis of your objective to gain success, and as I like to say, sustain success. You can find information on my courses that I release on my official website, which is www.nichelanderson.com, and you can go there and you can look at the different courses that I am releasing that are available. These courses are self-paced. They will be identified if they're considered to be like live sessions on a regular basis, but for the most part they are self-paced. During that time, I do have live sessions that once you have signed up for the course, you will see that in the schedule of what days that I'm available live, that you can talk to me and we can go over the courses going forward, right, on those particular topics. So that information is basically on my website that you can go to, which is nichelanderson.com. Now, I want to do a special call out for listeners that I have seen in my stats that are following me, continue to follow me, which I am thankful for. Now, to get connected more, to stay connected, I'm asking you to consider to join my newsletter that I do send out. And to do that, you just have to submit, of course, your name and your email. I don't spam. You can always request to be taken off the list. I don't send thousands of emails because I don't like thousands of emails from a particular source. So I keep it in a way that's informative, of course, because obviously you like the content because you hear and you enjoy it and you're getting something from it, which pleases me. To expand that and to move forward and to get into other ways that I can expand what I'm trying to do is to form a newsletter, to get that set up in a sense that I'm communicating, that I can send that out more quickly, actually, through a podcast or any type of thing or production that I'm doing, where a newsletter is more, in the sense, faster to get that contact and to send it out on blast, right? And more opportunity to send more content compared to like social media characters to be able to get that message out. So do consider that to join my newsletter by providing, and you can find that link at the end of each episode. I have that link to basically to sign up here for Nichel E-List Tips newsletter. And you could do that and you can see that and click it. It's a short form, online form. It is secured and you can complete that. All right. The other thing I want to talk about is basically to subscribe to this podcast. If you haven't, please go ahead. Of course, this is going through Podbeam. I have 2 podcasts. This one, of course, you're listening to is Surviving Your Journey to Success. And you can subscribe. Of course, you should see the subscribe button here at the bottom of this episode or at the top, whichever device that you're using. Now, I'm also available on iHeartRadio, on Spotify, on Google Play, on iTunes, and any other podcast directories for feed distribution. You can connect that way and subscribe. And if you like it, share it. Now, I am on social media. And so you do hear me a lot talk about Twitter. I'm mostly active on Twitter. I'm also active on Facebook. For the most part right now is Twitter. And I like the whole concept of keeping it short and sweet. But I'm connecting to people in different parts of the world. And then Facebook, I'm definitely on there as well. And you can connect me with that. So my Twitter handle is basically twitter.com/Nichel Anderson. My Facebook page, facebook.com/Nichel Anderson fan page. My official website, as I mentioned earlier, is nichelanderson.com. That is my official website. It's mainly focusing on self-improvement, motivation, life coaching, leadership courses, things that I really love to help people, what I have learned, and also to connect and to try to create the content in a way that you can feel comfortable about it, open up about the areas where you're struggling at. And it's usually pretty much our career and our personal life. So these self-paced courses give you the opportunity to really think things out, because you got to think about it. In this world, our mind has to be able to process so many things in so little time. And so you're here, you're there, you're everywhere, and you don't really get the opportunity to stop, to think, to react in a way that moves you forward, and to get things done, to get a blueprint. And that's basically the two courses that I recently released, and I will continue to evolve from that and add more courses, of course, or redo some of the courses that I have. And Blueprint for Success is a very good one in the sense of identifying that and moving to a point that you have a plan and that you can move forward. And that's the key. So at any rate, check that out on my official website, and definitely connect with that and share it with somebody else. Now, the other thing I would like to share with you is that, of course, I am an author. And so my very first book that I got published, that I was called to do, it was my purpose, and I see it now. And it's a part of my whole podcast show title. It's called Corporate America, Surviving Your Journey Toward Success. It is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It's available in book form and ebook. Okay, so you can get it at any book retailer in the world that have access to the ISBN for each book. So you can get that, and you can download it, or you can purchase it, or what have you. But go ahead and check out my book, and if you like it, share it. Okay. And so here is my closing statement for you. Be you that strengthens and inspires your ability to be strong in your journey endeavor. It's a good thing towards your mental peace and joy, always to your success.